I'll start. I think Life Learning Center is the program we hoped for, dreamed of, and imagined, and we didn't know existed until recently. I think I can speak for all of us when we had the opportunity to meet Alicia in this capacity. Chris, I know you've known her for many years and know who she is. This is the Recovery to Redemption program that we so desperately wanted. You know, our community, it's been well documented that it's been ravaged by homelessness, by transients, by folks that are looking for a second chance, which is really the heart behind this program. And so I know when I had the opportunity to tour it and I learned, and I know we'll touch on this a lot, Chris, I know you'll be excited about it in the work that you do, that when participants through this program leave and graduate, they leave with a job. And that's that redemptive story that I think separates this much more than anything else I've ever seen.
And what I noticed, even in watching some of the videos from the facility, is a gentleman had said that a lot of the folks that show up here, they show up without a smile. And I think, you know, Chris and Mayor, you can attest to this. I think there's been a lot of people in Pulaski County and in Somerset that have lost their smile. And I think that this sort of facility will help get that back for a lot of people. You know, we talk about our different rehab facilities that we might have in the community. A lot of those are only 30-day programs, and then that's it. There's not a lot of support beyond those 30 days. You know, where do they go beyond that 12th step? And I think this is that next step.
Well, and John, you and the mayor hit the nail on the head. You know, when you talk about the work that we do, Mayor, and one thing I'm so proud about Somerset and Pulaski County is really changing the narrative for all of Kentucky of what is economic development. And at the end of the day, we always say it's about quality of life. Well, we also say it's quality of life for all walks of life. And that's where I'm so proud of our community for being able to march that progressive mindset forward to help our citizens. And, you know, upon learning of this program, Mayor Keck, I know when you came back home after visiting with Alicia and her team, how emotionally moved you were by what you saw up here. And then that motivated all of us to reach out and learn more about this. And upon learning of the work you're doing, Alicia, I mean, it was just incredible to see the success rate, the statistics that you all have to back up the great work you're doing, but also your passion. And I think that's what sets you apart from everyone else within this space, within this space and this sphere, is your passion and your sincere care of the individuals that are here and going through the program. And as John referenced, not just a 30-day or 45-day program, but truly for life.
And I hope that I can live up to these grandiose characteristics you all said about me. But at the end of the day, you hit the nail on the head. I am so passionate about this work, having spent 40 years in the criminal justice arena, and knowing that individuals need an opportunity to re-enter society from some complications that they've had in life. Many of them were bad decisions, bad choices, but if they come to Life Learning Center, and when we get Life Learning Center opened in Somerset, they're gonna have a choice to make on starting a journey that will lead to a transformational change in their lives. And this is going back into the workforce, reconnecting with their families. What does that do for the community? It helps us in creating a workforce from individuals that were sitting on the sidelines. And Chris, you and I know from having served in the legislature the importance of getting those folks back into the workforce, and it goes without saying also from the county judge executive's office and from the mayor's office, the importance of that. But serving the community in a way that reduces recidivism, gets people back in the workforce, and is not a Band-Aid approach to much deeper seated issues about situational and generational poverty. And that is what we will be doing as a collaboration. We are creating a long-term plan, a continuum, if you will, for individuals to get back in the workforce and have a sustainable career, but also rebuilding their dignity.
Amen.
And that is so important.
What I like about what I've seen about Life Learning Center so far is we talk about these 30-day programs, we talk about different facilities that we might have in our community. Life Learning Center, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have metrics that you're meeting. You can show the recidivism rate specifically with each of your clients. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, John, and that's such a great lead into this. The Manhattan Institute, which is a think tank in Washington, D.C., and they study this kind of stuff all the time. Currently in the United States of America, recidivism is at 83%. At Life Learning Center, individuals that graduate our program, we follow these folks for 3 years out, we've cut recidivism to 6.2%. And what does that do for the community? We all know, having been in politics, that as soon as an individual gets arrested, it's costing a taxpayer money. It's costing all of our budgets money. And so that's how we measure recidivism, not adjudication. Because that should be the first question the community should be asking me is, Alicia, how do you measure recidivism? Recidivism needs to be measured on the minute that someone gets rearrested for a new offense, because it's costing us all money.
They're then back in that system.
That's exactly right. The readjudication may happen 18, 24 months later, but it's costing our budgets the minute they get rearrested. Right. And so we collect that information utilizing tools. We have a detective on staff here at Life Learning Center, and we're going to replicate this program exactly as you see it here will be replicated the same way in Somerset.
And that's another good point you make as well. I know from working in that field myself is one of the disconnects a lot of times were a lot of recovery centers would have trouble with, let's say a judge ordered 30-day treatment, 90-day treatment, what have you. Well, if that person didn't make it through the program, lots of times the judge didn't find out about that until well down the road. Is this to where you are in constant contact with our legal system as well, letting them know, if there's been a situation where you need to address that quickly?
That is a great question. We utilize a team called the Multidisciplinary Recovery Reentry Team. They will be working with the prosecutor's office, Commonwealth Attorney's office, County Attorney's office, and the judges, members of the bench, to, as court orders are issued, that people remain in compliance with the court orders. And if they're not in compliance, then there will be an opportunity to remediate. But if they're not in the mindset to remediate, then we will do a pickup order. And that's what's made or legitimized our accountability with the court systems here in Kenton County and Boone County, is that measure that if an individual's on a court order here, we know where they are. And if we don't know where they are, then we've got a team that's trying to locate them. Follow on to that, the one thing that I want the people of Somerset to know is Life Learning Center is not a treatment facility. We have partners that are in the treatment business, but there's 3 legs to this stool, suffering substance use disorder, and that is biological, psychological, and then the social piece. The nomenclature on social is a little bit squishy, as I like to say, but that is the part where we got to get people back in the workforce. We got to get them reconnected to society. We have to show them that there's community, and as we've characterized it, community unity. And what are you going to do to give back to your community rather than consumption?
I think that's one of the things that drew me so much to this. Chris uses the word collaboration so often because really when SPEDA was formed, it was this new entity to bridge the gap between city and county governments and talk about collaboration that then leads to stronger community. And if you spend time in Covington, Northern Kentucky, you know about Life Learning Center. It's very clear that you all are entrenched in community, but also you mentioned several different governmental agencies that you're in collaboration with, but also the workforce partners. You're not just training these folks and hoping that they go then get a job. You have over 200, maybe now over 300 workforce partners that are committed to making sure these folks get to reintegrate. And that's beautiful. We're going to be challenging our hiring partners at home, our businesses and industries to be a part of this and ensuring that double whammy happens. You mentioned the cost. Nothing better than filling an unfilled job with somebody who is out of the workforce. You're getting double bang for the buck for sure.
And look at what was brought up the other day at one of our legislative updates was if we're trying to attract as much industry into Somerset and Pulaski County as possible. If we can't fill that workforce, then we're in trouble to begin with as far as bringing those industries in.
Yeah. We've got to have the supply for the demand.
Right.
So as we're growing the economy, and look, as you all can tell, I'm not from Northern Kentucky. I am from Brownsville, Kentucky. So my understanding of the need for economic development and growth in rural communities, I mean, that's where I policed. I understand it. I probably understand it better there than I did when I was assigned here in Northern Kentucky. Because I know the importance of having good careers in areas and keeping our people home in our communities, them not leaving our communities for growth opportunities. But with all of that said, Mayor, you're exactly right. We have worked our workforce partners. We have just shy of 300. We are 287 right now.
Okay.
And while we may not have the volume of that in Somerset and Pulaski County and the 11 counties, I am confident that the employer partners that we will have, I've already spoken with some of them, they are going to be dedicated to the work we do. And look, I don't expect them to just subscribe day one. When they see our graduates and what they learn in 5 domains of life, physical, financial, emotional, relational, and spiritual, they will want to hire this person because they're coming in with a credential that says, I know how to live life, I know how to act inside the workplace, I know how to control my emotions, I've got good relationships, I'm going to be a dedicated and loyal employee.
Well, and Alicia, you just mentioned one word, dignity. And it reminded me of the dignity dollars that you all offer here. And plus, this is bringing dignity back to hard work. There is dignity in working hard. And that's one thing I think, Mayor, that you and John can agree on as well is, that's what we have seen all across America, unfortunately. It's societal. And we're seeing an entire generation, if not generations plural, that have lost a little bit of that desire to work hard and don't see the need in it. And that's one of the things that I think Alicia and the Life Learning Center are bringing back into the fold is there is dignity in hard work. And that's why I think you're finding so many workforce partners wanting to be a part of this, wanting to collaborate and coordinate the efforts with you because they know if they are able to work with somebody coming out of Life Learning Center, they've got a quality person coming out of here that are checking a lot of boxes and are willing to work hard.
Exactly. And the other thing that I love about the Lake Cumberland Area Development District in the community is your willingness to already provide Life Learning Center with support from other nonprofits. For example, at Life Learning Center, we have 2 types of partners. They're called community and residential partners. Community partners are people out in the community that we have multilateral agreements with. Residential partners means that they reside in this building with us to do the work that we do. So, for example, Tattoo Removal Inc. is one of those inside the building that does work. So, some of the partners you all already connected us with, God's Food Pantry, and their opportunity to open a clothing closet, and perhaps another opportunity to create a cafeteria where we can generate some income. Those are the things that we will need. We will need people in the community, the churches, and some of the other nonprofits to come together with us because, again, our mission is very focused. We have curriculum that teaches people how to live life in 5 domains. The care piece, we stay in our lane. And what I mean by that is, yes, somebody walks in the door, they need socks and shoes and underwear and so on and so forth. We outfit them with that, but it's our community partners that help us do that. Right. And that's how we keep the budget down And also, it's buy-in from the other nonprofits that we are staying in our lane.
And this will theoretically help with a lot of duplication of services too, will it not?
Absolutely, John. And that's the one thing that I emphasize here with the directors about staying in our lane. We're not going to get in the food pantry business. We are not going to get in the tattoo removal business. I'm not going to become Community Action Commission with the light, heat, and power. That's not what I do. That's what our Community Action Commission does. That's what God's Food Pantry does. I mean, you all have already got a plethora of organizations that do that work. All we need to do is create formalized agreements and know who's responsible for what. And your all's vision of Oak Point Center to be able for all of us to come together collectively and work multilaterally so that we're avoiding duplication of service, and it helps us to keep up with people, which also helps us to identify if we've got, somebody trying to manipulate the system.
Right.
And I think we can't sit here talking to our taxpayers and not mention that. We have a responsibility. You donate, we need to make certain that we're effectuating your funding appropriately and not being manipulated.
I'm so excited for our community to get to actually see this. They've heard us talk about it for a long time, and it might be hard to picture it all in a short video. But Chris, you mentioned those dignity dollars. I came home, I ran to him and Brenda Russell at God's Food Pantry said, "You guys aren't going to believe this place." And it's people working for those dignity dollars. It's non-legal tender, but they can spend it. They've earned it. With that hard work. And I had tears in my eyes leaving that room. You remember, I think you got me a tissue. I got a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
But I saw these things that I took for granted, that I might be able to just go buy my girls. And I realized that these people, when they're trying to rebuild their life, had to earn this non-legal tender to get some of this stuff. I want to pivot back to a comment you just made too about being good stewards of taxpayer money. Something else that I was so drawn to, you're not overly governmental funded. You actually raise most of the money that fuels Life Learning Center, and so many facilities now become so dependent on whether it be the federal government or state government or even then local government to survive. And it's not that you don't have some funding that come from the taxpayer, but your ratio is the kind we like, and I think the citizens of Somerset and Pulaski County will appreciate as well.
62 cents of every dollar that we spend here at Life Learning Center comes from private funding and family foundations, et cetera. And we take great pride in that because I believe, having been a policymaker, that to get communities to buy into what we're doing, you got to have skin in the game. And so, and we're going to do the same thing in the Somerset, Pulaski County area. And it's about, we can't depend on the government to bail us out of all of these issues. We are not a Medicaid billable organization. The one thing that, speaking to your dignity dollars, I think, and regaining dignity just for a moment, is that individuals that come in our program, I try to meet with every cohort and tell them the importance of why we want them to be here, why they were selected. We don't accept everybody here because they've got to be willing to take the journey. They've got to be willing to start a career or matriculate to earn a credential that will start them on a better career. And some people, flat bottom line, tell us, no, I'm okay. I don't really want to work. Now, I have to scratch my head a little bit and think, folks, how are you going to sustain yourself if you're not going to work? But that's another story for another day. But with all of that said, the dignity aspect, the dignity dollars, them earning to learn is so important to the work that we do here collectively and the work we're going to do in Somerset. I think it goes without saying, and we could not be more excited to have been invited. We know we were invited into your community, and we will not forget that we were invited.
Would you share 2 or 3 things that you're most proud of about your program, and maybe the things that you'd be most excited about bringing to the Lake Cumberland region?
I love to tell people that the work we do here is not transactional. And what I mean by that and how I explain that is we are not getting paid per head for somebody to be in this program. And the countenance on people's faces when you're talking to a cohort and you tell them that, there's a little bit of a shock factor.
That's not what they're used to.
That's right. Yes, sir, John. And so the other thing that I'm proud of is the countenance on people's faces when they are doing interviews. Oftentimes they think they're mock interviews, and they're actually being interviewed for a career, and they get told that they're going to be making $20 or $25 an hour. And it brings some of them to tears because we hear all the time, never would I have ever thought blah, blah, blah. Never would I thought I could be here. And then when they start that and they start, metaphorically, I like to tell some folks, sometimes they have to have a little dose of mom edge here. And I say, like, look, you have metaphorically a stack this high of really bad decisions, and your good decisions is here. We need to do the opposite. So it's going to take some time because you didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to get here overnight. But when we do that and we start talking to them about making decisions and good choices, they're like, I've actually started talking to my family again. I've got an opportunity to get my children back. You all have seen the video of James Lake.
Yes.
And let me tell you something. When he got those children back and he started to see his opportunities, and now, I've told you, I mean, and the success and them being in private school, we not only changed the trajectory of James, we've changed the trajectory of 3 behind James, and that's what we're going to do in Somerset. It is the generational changes that we can effectuate that's going to not only impact while we're still on this earth, it's what our children are going to see. Amen. That we've effectuated change. And it is deeply grounded in the individual making choices about what they want to do and giving them some opportunities.
And so that entire line from him on down to the rest of his family, his children's children, I like to look at it this way as well. Mayor, your girls, they see you being successful, and that I would imagine.
Maybe.
Well, but I would imagine that makes them want to be successful as well. Chris, same thing with yours is, or even my own nephew is. I would imagine that not only does it, like you said, affect them, but then the entire lines of families and generations moving on beyond that to where 100 years down the road, they could, where now you could look back and say, okay, that's maybe where we went wrong. Then you can say, okay, well, this is actually where we went right. This is where we righted the ship.
Yeah. I mean, my career, I've looked back at some things and I've thought, arresting somebody, he's not going to be a nickel better than when I locked him up. I mean, look, I'll own it. But I'm a rule of law person. We all are. But with all of that said, 97% of the people that we arrest are going to get out.
Right.
So what have we done to prepare them for outside?
And did your law enforcement career help inform you and your empathy for what you're doing now?
Absolutely. I mean, John, it goes without saying. I mean, I love the state police, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today without the state police. But I'll tell you something. My time working, in all 3 divisions and working narcotics, I mean, I saw the scourge that had on people. I mean, I worked undercover, and I saw what was going on with people and how it affected them long-term, short-term and long-term. And knowing that what I just told you is, okay, so we're locking them up, which, look, they broke the law. They've got to be disciplined. I'm not saying, and I will live and die by the rule of law. But at the end of the day, once they get disciplined, are we just going to keep making them pay the price into perpetuity? And that's what we do when we have no plan. And you all spoke about it a minute ago, and I didn't add on to this. They go into treatment and they're there for 28 days. Nobody is fixed. I don't care what anybody says, and I'll argue with anybody all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. Nobody's fixed in 28 days.
They might be sober, but it's not
That's right.
lasting sobriety.
That's right. and ask individuals that have been in recovery, that the people that work here at Life Learning Center or the people that we associate with, they will tell you that this is the catalyst that they needed that they didn't have. And so, you know, our founder, Bill Butler, his vision, his thought process of a cognitive approach to change, not emotional. We've all made emotional decisions. Oh, I'm going to lose weight because I'm not going to eat this bag of Oreos. I mean,
I've
that's
never made that
emotional.
decision in my entire life.
That's emotional. But and look, I've had them in the back seat of a cruiser 1,000 times. It's like, Alicia, if you'll let me go, I swear to God, I'll never do this again. And if we let them out after tomorrow, I'd see them all over again.
Yeah.
That's emotional. But when people make a cognitive choice, I am going to do something different. I have hit the bottom. Like in that video, I have had it. I'm exhausted with this life. And so just here of late, we had a graduation last Thursday night. There was this young man. He gave one of the speeches, and he said, I don't even know how I got to Northern Kentucky. He said, I'm from Davis County. And he said, I somehow got to Northern Kentucky. He said, and obviously he said, I was under the influence. I got arrested. He said, and I sobered up inside the detention center. He said, and then there was these people coming in from Life Learning Center talking about this place. And he said, I thought, I'm exhausted. I've got to do something different. And I don't know where I'm going to go. I'm from Owensboro, and now I am sitting in Covington, Kentucky. Where am I going to go when I get out if I don't go to this place? So he came here, and then he went out to, we took him out to Sun Behavior because he has some mental health issues that needed to be stabilized. And then he comes back here, and we put him through the program. And I'm going to tell you, it's not just the mental transformation, but the physical transformation that you saw in this guy, from him having no spark in his eyes, I mean, constantly looking at the floor, looking down at the table, to him saying, he gave a speech the other night that I would put him up next to any politician that we've all dealt with, because he said, I don't know what I would have done without this place. Now, this is not, you know, the Life Learning Center show or the Alicia Edgington show by any stretch of the imagination. This is about a community catalyst, and the community that you all have in Somerset, it's the same way. It is the spirituality that you all have that will wrap around these folks with compassion to help them regain dignity and make good, sound choices.
And I think that dignity is a big aspect of this. Kimberly and I went to eat at one of our local restaurants Saturday, and there's a gentleman there I had worked with before at one of our local rehab facilities, and he said one thing. This wasn't the end all and be all to it, but he said one of the things that made a difference for him was I was the only person from that facility that showed up to his drug court graduation, and I hadn't seen him in probably 2-3 years. It had been a while. I didn't even know if he remembered me or not. But he remembered that instance of just taking that chance on him and going and showing him that he was worthy of love, that he was worthy of dignity. And you talked about that with our community, with Somerset and Pulaski County. We have no end to our compassion in Pulaski County. And I think that's what's going to help give us the advantage in giving these folks the tools to make it.
Yeah, we've accomplished an incredible amount over the last 5 or 6 years, and we've all been a part of that journey. I think seeing Life Learning Center come to fruition in Somerset and Pulaski County, we wouldn't look back in a decade or 2 decades, it will be at the top of the list of the most impactful things. And so I just want you to know, and your team to know, how grateful we are.
I think we'll say it was the missing piece.
You listened and said, you know what, these crazy people in Somerset might be onto something. We want to expand and be a part of that. I know we're all grateful.
Well, and I want the people of Somerset and Pulaski County and the Area Development District to know I will be on the ground. This is not one of those things where I go and hope it all works out. Anybody that's ever worked with me knows I'm going to be on the ground. I'm going to be deeply involved, and the culture that we have here in the Covington location will be the same culture and chemistry that you're going to see in Somerset.
And that's what we love about what you're doing here is the culture. You know, Brenda always talks about the Oak Point Center and why it's named such as it is. Because when you plant an oak tree, you're not the one that's planning on being underneath the shade of that tree. So, I mean, we're planting oak trees for others at Oak Point Center to be able to enjoy for generations to come. And also, Alicia, I think it shouldn't go without saying how much we appreciate the Kentucky General Assembly, our state legislators for coming forward with this funding, recognizing what a success that Life Learning Center is, and using it as an example for the rest of the Commonwealth of Kentucky to follow, and allowing this to be where that expansion takes place. I'll be forever grateful to them and their support as well.
Well said.
Thank you absolutely for bringing that up. And look, without the advocacy of your constituents and your elected officials, we would not be where we are with the opportunity for expansion. I mean, it's clear. You all went to Frankfurt, you advocated for this. We applaud everything that you all did to help us get this across the finish line. And we're gonna make this happen. And so look out 2025.